Hello everybody and welcome back to the Ur-Quan Masters Hardcore Challenge, episode 19. We're slowly getting closer to the point where I can actually play the game live again. This one is a long episode though, this is 30 minutes long, there's a lot of stuff that happens, but I'm not going to spoil it right now. So we'll just find some other stuff to chat about, I guess. We're leaving, where are we leaving? We're leaving Gamma Brahe 1, and we're now heading over to Beta Copernicus 1. And that will be the final bit of Mycon space stuff for a little while. Feels like I've been here for a long time, probably because I have, for about 3.5 years in fact. So yeah, it'd be nice to actually get out of here and actually play some other parts of the game. There are of course parts of Ur-Quan Masters that we can't really get into, just because we don't have access to the starbase. So for example, the whole quest line with the Shafixty and the Yehat Rebellion is basically just impossible to get into, because you need to have gone back to the starbase to get a Shafixty scout vessel to show to the Yehat that the Shafixty is still alive, and that's what triggers the whole Yehat rebellion. So that is actually, I seem to remember, there's a lot of stuff involved in that, because you need to go and get the beast from the Vux and so on, and trade it in for the Shafixty and so on. So there's a lot of stuff that you have to do for that whole quest. It's quite a long series of things. And also, of course, the reason you want to do it really is, first of all, because you get some Yehat ships at the end of the at the Sa-Matra fight, and you can actually, I think, can you build Yehat vessels from the starbase? I can't remember, but if you can, then that's definitely a bonus. I think the Shafixty ships are not the most useful in the world, so that's probably not a good reason to do the quest. I suppose you don't really know that you get the Yehat support until right near the end of the game. But also, of course, the other reason, which is quite a good one, is that all the crew costs go down quite a lot. It goes from 3 to 1, and I'm guessing if it goes up because you've used up too many crew, or because you've sold stuff to the Druge and so on, maybe it brings that down as well to another smaller value. I'm not sure, but yeah, that's pretty much the reason you want to do it, and also because it's fun. It's a fun little story in the whole thing of it. So we're not going to be doing that, and of course, part of us being able to not do that, if you see what I mean, is that we can actually send the Pkunk back to their homeworld. And normally what happens with the Pkunk, of course, is that they migrate over to Yehat space and become part of the whole Yehat revolution. They become integrated in the new Yehat culture. And then there's some rule about, if you go there once every so often, if you get the timing right, you can basically get quite a lot of Pkunk Furies. I'm probably not too worried about getting any more than one set, so then I'd have 8 Furies, which is pretty good. For the battle against the Sa-Matra, because one thing I didn't know when I played the original playthrough is that the Pkunk Furies are particularly good against the Sa-Matra because of their speed. They can just outrun the projectiles. I think I use mostly the Shamo avatars, which are quite sluggish, and so get smashed up by by those fireballs and things. So that should make that fight doable, but it'd be quite fun to actually have a go at it, because I don't think I've actually tried it myself. But a lot of people are telling me it's good. So here we go, look. We're at Beta Copernicus 1, after all that chatting. And we got the third egg case fragments. There it is. A few earthquakes, but of course it doesn't matter, because all the biological data I've got, all the credits spent on upgrading my lander to pretty much the absolute max. I think I've probably got still a load of credits in the bank that I haven't spent. All of them, just at this point, are going to be used for fuel, because of course that's the only way I can get fuel. And it's very cheap in the sort of default game. I know in the Mega Mod, in the hard difficulty, one of the things that they increase is the cost of fuel to 10 credits per unit fuel, which is quite cool. But to be honest, in the normal version of the game, if you know which planets to go to, but actually now that I think about it, of course, when I play the Mega Mod in hard difficulty, the planets will be all mixed up, so I won't know which planets to go to anymore. So that'd be quite interesting, because normally when you play the base game, basically you go to, there's a few planets that you know to go to, Delta Centauri and so on, where there's tons of biologicals, tons of radioactives. Alpha Centauri, of course, they've got those 2 Ruby worlds, so you can really, you can really easily get a lot of resource use quickly. I wonder what I'm doing here. I seem to be in a menu, doing something, but I can't work out what. Maybe I just forgot to cut this bit. Whatever. Maybe I'm just thinking about what to do next. I'm looking at the map, maybe. Oh, do you know what it is? It's that I haven't got enough fuel to use the Quasipole. So the thing is, what do I do here? So basically what I want to do is just try and get out of Mycon space. So I'm probably just going to go flying up into the top left to try and get out of that sphere of influence, try and get away from Mycon, so that when I can refuel with the Melnorme, I'm not just going to be approached by loads of these things. Because yeah, I only have 10 fuel. haven't got 10 fuel to use the portal spawner, so that's the problem that I've got, which is a shame. It's quite annoying actually, but what are you going to do about it? One thing that I've realised watching this back, all these fights between the Pkunk and the Mycon, is that I haven't really gone for the tactic so much of just trying to guide their energy balls back into themselves. I've more just gone for the tactic of recharging with the Pkunk and then going on a sort of straight run, rather than going for the I don't know what the tactic is called, but you know when you get the Pkunk up to speed and then spin while you shoot. I haven't gone for that tactic so much, the sort of sunflower effect. So I've just gone for beeline towards. Oh, there we go. I did it. Speak of the commentator's curse, I guess. Brilliant. So now we're in this really strange tactic now where I'm basically just trying to get away from all these guys, but I'm still just being swarmed. Look at the hyperspace star map there, the little map in the corner. So many guys like flying in. They're so angry that I've nicked all their egg case fragments. I suppose it's good chance to like get up on crew at least. You know, I'm dying a few times in these fights. At least that gives me a little bit of a buffer for crewmen to be expendable. Although I haven't really lost that many crew. I suppose I guess the most crew I lost near the beginning of the game when I didn't have any of the protection on the landers. That's probably where I've lost a lot of my crew. So I'm now making up for that. Because of course that's one of the things about the final fight, of course, is that basically you just got a beeline for the Sa-Matra. You've just got to get there as fast as you can, get in there and blow it up. So I've got to make sure I have enough crew to be able to do that. I'll tell you what, watching these fights is making me worry slightly about whether or not I'm going to have to do a lot of practice, given that it's been quite a long time since I actually did this. What else have I got to fight? I guess I've got to fight some, at least I've got to fight some Rouge when I go and get the bomb. Probably going to fight some more Mycon to get the sun device. Going to have to fight some Ur-Quan, of course. But I think the Pkunk are pretty good against the Ur-Quan. What else is there? I think that's pretty much it. Because I think that after all this Mycon stuff, I've already got the Dinyari, I've already got the talking pet, and the last thing I need to do is get the Ilrath away from the Kzer-Za homeworld, because I seem to remember, because I've got on my list here that I need to convince the Ilrath to go and attack the Thresh. I can't exactly remember why that is. I think it might be because the Ilrath are actually guarding Procyon. And I think I seem to remember playing through the game when I played it like a couple years ago, and going to Procyon early on, or at some point during the game before I'd convinced the Ilrath to move out. And I seem to remember that there was like a big guard of Ilrath ships there. And I remember just being really confused by that, so I'm guessing that's why I've put that there. Because I think in the original playthrough that I did on the channel, I didn't visit Procyon before making the Ilrath move out, or even before getting the sun device, actually. I pretty much went to Procyon and just talked to the Shimmer straight away. I don't think I actually ever talked to... Oh, maybe I did know. Maybe I did talk to the Kzer-Za, actually. Now that I think about it. There was an episode where I did talk to them. I can remember the thumbnail. The episode was like 35 or something. And then like a few episodes later, I then turned them into Shimmer. So, I'm not quite sure. Maybe someone can tell me about how that works. I can't remember. But yeah, so I don't think I need to actually fight any Ilrath though, right? I just go into hyperspace, use the caster, and tell them to move out. So I don't actually need to fight them. So really, it's just these Mycon a couple more times afterwards when I go to get the sun device. Also the Ur-Quan, of course. And then what else did I say? Druge, that's it. The Druge when I go and get the bomb, because the Druge are not actually hostile until that point. So that's all there is to it, I think. And I think the Druge ships, I wonder what the best fighting the Druge is. I suppose the Earthling Cruiser is pretty good against the Druge, because you just fire the missiles at them, maybe, or maybe the Pkunk. The Pkunk might be quite good against the Druge, but the Druge can start moving real fast, like when they start shooting a lot and just getting all that momentum up. So the Spathi definitely aren't good against the Druge, I'm pretty sure. So I guess we can try an Earthling Cruiser. We'll have to see when we get there. Another thing that I never did in the original playthrough, and probably something I'm not going to do in this playthrough, if I'm totally honest, just because I think it would just take forever, is going to find all the Rainbow Worlds. So that's one thing I never actually did. I'm not actually really sure where all the Rainbow Worlds are. I think there's one at Groombridge, which is like one right in the top right corner. But actually the exact locations of all the other ones I actually have no clue. So that's one thing I haven't really ever done in this game, is find them. Is there? Do you actually ever get any information about where they are in the game, or do you just have to get lucky? Just have to go searching for them? I don't really know. I've never really thought too much about them. It definitely, if you don't get much information about them, it definitely seems like one of those completionist things where you go mine out every single planet, travel to every single star. I remember ages ago when I first started playing Ur-Quan Masters, like halfway through the original playthrough, I was thinking of doing a playthrough where I visit every solar system and mine out every planet and try and work out like what the maximum number of resource units you can get is. But I think at some point I must have decided that that was going to take about 100 years to complete. Well, it's certainly the rate I've been putting out these episodes, it would take about 100 years. And in the end I never did it. I instead played Project 6014, of course. I don't really remember when I learnt about Project 6014. I must have learnt about it like towards the end of the original playthrough. And I know there's also a lot of stuff that I missed in the original Project 6014. Jonathan Black in particular, if you're watching this, you commented a lot about all the stuff I missed. Because I only really focused on the areas of the map in where the sort of the alliances. Like I didn't really go right down into the depths of the world in the the bottom corners and so on. But the thing is, when I was originally playing it, it was a demo, so I didn't think there was going to be anything really far away. And of course, I went back and saw all the old alliance and so on, and saw how they were doing, and that was quite fun. And I had to do voiceovers for them because there were none in the game for some of the races. Like there were for the Kohr-Ah, I think, and for the was there for the Spathi? I can't remember. I can't even remember if you can actually see the Spathi in the game. There was definitely for the Urs. There was for the Urs. There wasn't any for the humans. There wasn't any for the Shafixti. There wasn't any for. Oh, there was some for the Slilandro. Was it? I think the Slilandro were in the game because they got tricked by the Umgar into using ships that looked like Kohr-Ah ships. I can't remember if there's any more, but I had to do voiceovers for quite a lot of them, and it was quite fun. But it was also it made stuff take a little while because I had to get like some voice changer, which it was a really bad program. It was really annoying to use, and it was kind of glitchy as well. And I remember trying to record some of those. And also another problem is that I wasn't very consistent in the voice I was using, so especially for the Shamir. So like sometimes it was a lot lower pitched, sometimes a lot higher pitched, sometimes more sort of American and so on. So it wasn't great, but it was quite fun to do. I think a lot of people were wondering like what the hell was going on because like they were playing through the demo and there wasn't any voiceovers in their game, and they were like wondering whether or not like I'd added it or not, which was quite funny. It was quite, but yeah, I wanted it to feel a little bit more like these games where you actually have the voiceovers. But of course, you need to get people to do the voice acting. In the original version of Star Control 2 for the PC, there wasn't any voiceovers at all, which I found out. And they only added it when they ported it to the 3DO. So, and obviously I think that was a huge bonus for the game. I think I would have found this game a lot less palatable if there wasn't voiceovers during the conversations. It's really cool to have that and have all the different voices and so on. I imagine there are people who played the original PC version who imagine the voices a bit like reading a book, right? You imagine like these people, what they look like and how they sound and so on. So it's probably quite strange for some people who played the original PC version to then hear those voices and how they were different from how they originally sounded. But I think it was really good, especially for a game, modern day game, a modern day HD especially version of this game. It definitely works really well to have those voices in. Also for like recording videos as well, it's quite nice to have those voices, so you can just, when you're recording the game, when you go through a chat option, and you can just listen to what they're saying, rather than having to like narrate it or something. I think it definitely adds to the sort of immersion of it all for people watching, which is quite nice. We should have had some sort of like Mycon kill counter, probably overflow at this point, the number we've killed. Slowly getting there, giving someone else a go this time. Crow. Oh, fantastic. Slowly but surely, getting through this place. I can already see that there's a few more Mycon fights coming up in this, so we've got to get out of this sphere of influence. But that's part of a hardcore challenge, isn't it? Sometimes there's a bit of a grind, and especially when you don't have the speed that you usually would during the game. I think that's the one thing about the hardcore challenge that is a little bit annoying. I know in the Mega Mod, I shouldn't say I know because I don't know for sure, but I think in the Mega Mod version of the Snow Starbase challenge, they give you a few extra boosters just to make it a little less tedious to like get from place to place, which is quite nice. If I'd known about that, I definitely would have played that, but it doesn't matter. Slowly getting there. I mean, it feels, even watching this now, it feels so slow. I mean, oh my goodness. Is this Vux now? Are we coming up against a Vux, or is this still Mycon? That was very, very slow. Still Mycon. Brilliant. Few more Mycon, 3 more. Getting very good at this now, though. You almost worry if I'm going to specialise, come up against something else, and have absolutely no clue how to fight it. I'm so used to just running in with these Pkunk. Little bombing line. Just charge up, throw insults at planets nearby. They're probably wondering what the hell's going on outside. That looked like a rainbow world, actually. Wonder if the Mycon, wonder if the Melnorme would be happy with that. It's in the middle of some random piece of true space. I wonder if there's any rainbow worlds in like the places where the Melnorme can be visited. Like you can just orbit and meet them outside a rainbow world location. They'll still give you the 500 credits for it. I don't know. Depends on whether or not they spawn in all the big stars, don't they? They appear in all the big stars like Alpha Centauri and Zeeman and all them. So you'd have to have a rainbow world in one of those places. So as we're coming up to the halfway point of this episode, might as well ask you guys, what have you been all up to in these last however many years? Are you all doing well? You probably moved on from whatever you were doing back then. We might have been at school the whole time, might have been at university the whole time, getting through it. I'm coming up to the end now, as I said last time, or the time before. It's quite weird, actually. I mean, I feel like I've already been off on sort of holiday almost. I mean, we've had this term and I've had work to do, but it's not been like I've had to get up early every morning, get to lectures and so on. You know, so it's been a lot more casual. So it already feels like I've been on holiday for quite a long time, and there's still now, like, the summer to come as well. So I guess the good thing is that obviously I haven't been seeing a lot of people in real life, like, haven't been seeing a lot of people in person. And so the summer will be a good opportunity to do that again. Got to go to a few cricket matches. I like watching cricket in the summer. I know a lot of people find cricket really boring, but it is quite fun to actually go to the stadiums with friends and just have a nice day out. So I might be doing a bit of that. Who knows what else I'll do? Find some more fun games to play. It's probably more difficult, of course, to meet friends in person and so on, because obviously everyone's moved out to different places for uni. Obviously we all used to be in the same town roughly, so it was a bit easier. But now that we're all at different places around the whole country, and in some cases even in different countries altogether, like the US and so on, and France in a couple of cases, it's obviously much more difficult to sort of do that. So you definitely start to think more about it when you get older and start to... You don't really know what you had until you miss it, really, do you? So it's the same with this. But as I say, the summer will be a good opportunity to do that because most people are home. I think I'll probably, if I keep producing these videos at the rate I want to, I think we'll probably have about maybe 10 or 12 episodes of this. I'm just guessing, just based on like how much I've done and how much there is still to go to actually complete all the quests I need to actually visit the Sa-Matra and defeat it. So I think it will only take like a month or so to finish this series, depending on how fast I actually get these videos recorded and so on. Because I'm going to start not narrating them afterwards, I think it'll be faster. So maybe not even a month, maybe like 3 weeks, who knows. We'll have to see. But I do need to get a few more things done. Like my actual term, my final term of uni requires me to do a little bit of work, and we've got like a mock exam. We had a mock exam like a couple of days ago, and I got another one coming up. So once those are done, that'll be it. That'll be the end of term, pretty much. I don't know. It's kind of, as I say, it's kind of weird the way it's structured. Obviously, they've done as well as they can to try and simulate exams and simulate a final term. But obviously, there's always going to be difficulty doing that. And then I'll be on holiday again, and that'll be it. And I don't think we're even doing things like the graduation ceremonies or any of that sort of thing. So that'll literally be it. So it's going to be kind of weird. But as I say, gives me the chance to get stuff like this done. I'll also probably spend quite a lot of time working on the nuclear craft mod, because that's actually starting to get really fun. I think it's definitely true in programming that the better you get at the programming side of things, like the better you get at actually implementing things, and the faster you get stuff implemented, the more fun it becomes. Like it is fun to like start learning. It is fun to learn about a programming language, but it can sometimes feel like a real grind if you just don't have the skill to be able to implement something and you really want to. And I had that for a long time. But now it's getting to the stage where I can actually do some like quite complicated stuff, quite fun stuff, where I can actually, someone will suggest something really cool sounding, and I'll be able to like actually properly implement that. I guess another thing with Minecraft mods, of course, as well, is that you have a lot of examples, and a lot of time there's a lot of shared code. Like even if you're implementing, say, a machine, like a lot of mods have machines, and they're all different in their certain ways, but the general sort of principles of most machines are pretty similar. So, for example, the furnace in Minecraft, for example, a lot of machines and mods are basically like fancy versions of that. They use maybe electricity instead and have their own recipes and so on. But ultimately, at the end of the day, what a furnace needs to do is it needs to be able to check through the recipes based on the ingredients it has in its input slot, and be able to produce the items on the other side and burn up the coal or whatever that's in the fuel slot. And most machines are pretty similar in that they have to just take an input and recognise how to deal with it and turn it into an output based on energy consumption and so on. So a lot of the time there is good examples of things, like when you get stuck or you don't really know how to do it yet, you can look at other mods like are open source, like a lot of mods are open source, and so you can look at how they do it and to learn from that and get stuff. It really helps, like when you're stuck, to just look at what other people do. And I think that's probably one thing why I think I would be able to, after a little bit more practice with C or C++, be able to help with something like Project 6014, because I imagine that quite a lot of the base code of Ur-Quan Masters would be pretty similar, right? Because stuff like these conversations that are happening now, they probably have like a certain framework which you don't need to really worry about too much. You just need to put the conversations and text and chat options in and so on. Thing with obviously the battles and so on, you just need to add ships. There's probably a framework for ships. They probably all share like certain properties. They all implement the same interface, for example. So I guess the challenge in getting involved in a project like that is just being able to read through this all, because it's probably a huge game, right? There's probably a lot of code to just read through and understand where things are happening and so on, to be able to know what to modify to actually make the mod work. But as I said, that's far in the future if Fred and Paul don't make their game. And I'm really interested to see what they do, because I would like to think that they... I don't know what other games they've made, that's the thing. I don't know other games other than Star Control they've made. Maybe I should go and try and find them and find out whether or not they have the same sort of comedic style, for example, or maybe the same sort of artistic style, or maybe they're totally different. I don't know. Of course, with something like Myst, for example, which is another sort of indie game that I really love, all the Cyan games, the Myst games, you can definitely feel the company's style oozing through each one of them. You know, they're all sort of... all the games that I've played from Cyan are all puzzle games. They all feel like they have the same sort of ideas behind them, the same sort of principles and philosophy in the way the puzzles are actually implemented and so on. And I think sometimes that doesn't necessarily mean that all the puzzles feel, you know, perfectly implemented all the time, but you can definitely feel the attempt to do so when you play some of these games. Like, okay, maybe it doesn't work out quite as well in one case or another, but the whole style is similar. You can definitely feel that coming through. And so that's probably true with Fred and Paul's other games. As I say, I don't know what else they've done. Of course, the reverse of that is, even when you have the exact same series, like Star Control, some other developer comes along and they have a totally different style about them, and it makes the whole game feel really disjointed from the previous ones in the series. And that's kind of what happened with Star Control 3, I think. I think they based the transport system in Star Control 3 on Star Control 1, but I'm not actually sure how many people's played Star Control 1, out of the people who are really big fans of Star Control 2. I think Star Control 2 has pretty much the entire important plot of Star Control 1 in it, pretty much already. Like, I think most people who play Star Control 1 are people who are playing it just because they played Star Control 2. I'm not sure how many people actually originally paid attention to Star Control 1 in the, you know, before 2 came out. And that's especially true of the people who have played Ur-Quan Masters and this HD remake that never even, probably not even born like me, when the originals came out. So slowly but surely, trying to get out of this this hellhole. We're getting there. It's a real grind for Captain Tom Dodd in the Ice Fest. He can't believe that he's been given. You know, he found this factory on Unservolt, on Vela 1. He thought this is a bloody brilliant ship, but turns out it's a pile of garbage. Should have gone to the starbase all along. Why was he so unsure about going there? I suppose it does say at the beginning when you meet Commander Hayes the first time that they were like weeks away from like starving and running out of power. So I wonder if I go there now, there's just nothing there. There's just no sign of life. A bit like the starbase around Procyon. There'd be no one to service that Ilrath Avenger that came to the starbase, I imagine, to get repaired. I suppose. I guess that's what it was doing originally. It went to the starbase to get repaired because it was broken for some reason. I don't know what it would have been attacked by, but I suppose a Slylandro probe, if anything. That's pretty much anything that's sort of wandering about at that point in the history of the galaxy. It's what attacks the one of the ships, one of the Earthling cruisers on the way back from Unservolt, isn't it? Or on the way to Unservolt, I can't remember now. Because Corridor 9 of Star Control originally sent out 2 Earthling cruisers to Vela on the research mission. I don't know if it was specifically to Vela or just the Vulpeculi, well, not the Vulpeculi system, but the system just below that. But yeah, only one of those Earthling cruisers makes it back, escorting the flagship. I think even Commander Hayes brings up, he says one of the Earthling cruisers was attacked by a probe on the way back, and that they've been analysing the replication of the probes for the last few months or whatever, and that's when you sort of learn about the problem if you haven't already dealt with it or haven't already met them or whatever. And they let you. That's how you know about the problem of dealing with the probes. I think the Zopfok pick also tell you something about how there's just too many of them. But the problem is with the Zopfok is that they're actually really hard to get to. Like they're right in, well, not right in the middle of Ur-Quan space, but they're in it, and it can be really difficult to get there if you haven't, got a good fighters with you. So yes, I've just not been paying attention to what's happening on the screen. I'm actually fighting a Vux here with an Earthling cruiser, and of course the Vux are incredibly slow. So Earthling cruiser's perfect, just homing missiles, just absolutely brilliant. One more, boom. Yeah, they're really good. I suppose with the Pkunk, I suppose the Pkunk would also be pretty good against the Vux, but the Earthling cruiser is pretty powerful. I seem to remember. I'm looking at it now and just watching that Vux spawn in. I seem to remember that either it's a bug or something that I expect to happen that doesn't. The first Vux that comes in does spawn very, very close to you most of the time, but the consecutive ones that come after, in a fight like this, for example, in deep space, they don't seem to spawn close to you. They just spawn like regularly. I don't know whether that's meant to happen or not, but either way, that was pretty easy, wasn't it? 3 Vux down with an Earthling cruiser. Finally, that guy, he's probably been waiting for something to do for the last year or whatever. Finally had a fight on his hands. Here's another one, I guess. Yep, 2 more. The Earthling cruiser, actually, I find the Earthling cruiser really, really fun to control. Like, I love the homing nukes, but they are incredibly slow ships. Actually, they're not incredibly slow ships. They just have incredibly poor acceleration. Like, they can actually get up to sort of medium pace, but the acceleration's just awful. That's what makes them sort of that's what makes them vulnerable to things like the Ur-Wrath, is that the Ur-Wrath can just accelerate faster than it and catch up and just cream it. But when you're in fights like this against really slow ships like the Vux, they completely destroy them. There we go. There's another one down. 5 in a row for Captain Decker, perhaps. Okay, so that was just unlucky. You see, that time I was just unlucky. Look at that. The secondary defense system's coming in very handy there to destroy those little limpets. I think if I wasn't next to that planet there, I would have taken any damage, but got a little bit unlucky. That's how it is. Fire the homing nukes. Of course, in this game, when there's like a sort of discrete rotational system for the fighting, the homing nukes can miss quite often. In a system where there's continuous rotation, I think the missiles would be even more powerful. I don't know if I've mentioned this before, but I actually made sort of scratch games based on the Super Melee fights. So I had one that involved the Ur-Quan, Kohr-Ah, the Ur-Quan, Kzer-Za, and the Shamo avatars in like a 3-way battle, and then also like the 2v2s between each pair of them. And then I also did Earthling cruiser, Thredash, I can't remember what the name of the ship is, the Thredash ship, and also the Umgar ship, the Umgar drone. And had them all fight against Thredash Torch, that's the name of it. And I had all them fight each other as well. And in that game mode, the Earthling cruiser was like really overpowered at first, just because you can have like actual continuous rotation, and so the missiles just like home in like perfectly and hit every time pretty much. So I think it's a good balancing point really, that those missiles don't always hit, because they've got that sort of slight shakiness to the way they travel. Okay, well, I just realised, of course, that we fought some Vux there, so we're in Vux space. We're getting away from Mycon space now, and we're basically just looking at probes. We're basically just bumping into probes. I think we can actually outrun the Vux. They're that slow. But there we go, look, we're getting close. We're actually, in fact, not even going to go into quasi-space. We're just going to make a beeline for where the Pkunk are heading to. We're actually cutting it a little bit close, actually, by the look of it on the star map, but it doesn't matter. As long as we just talk to one Pkunk, and we can tell them to go home. Is this them now? No, it's another probe. The probes travel pretty much the same speed as the Pkunk in hyperspace, so they're a little bit difficult to tell apart. And as I said before, the quality of the preview in Movie Maker is not the best, so it's quite difficult to actually even see the little green map.
Decided that our hot siblings are in need of our love and good counsel. We have waited far too long to return home and heal the wound that has kept our race apart these many centuries. When we arrive in the Serpentis constellation, we will greet our hot brethren with warm hugs of affection, which, I am sure, shall be returned in kind.
Well, not too quickly, fellas. The Ouija board clearly says turn back.
This is an ominous portent. We must consult our spirit guides before proceeding. Unfortunately, we will have to return home to do this properly. Thank you for your concern.
There we go. That's pretty easy. I imagine if I gave them all like the less crazy reasons, they wouldn't have returned.
Hello, human! We are warm and fuzzy with the news of your return. What wisdom do you seek today?
I'm pretty sure that they don't give me ships here, so I'll just ask for news.
News? Here is news. Did you know that the lovely clear spindle which we gave you is actually part of a larger device?
Yeah, we know that, we know that. Right, well, that's the end of this episode.
Goodbye.
See you in the next one. Thank you for watching.